What's up? It's Susie.
And Todd.
From Hey Grill Hey, and today I'm giving you my 5 tips for better backyard burgers. Let's do it. One of the first things that I think most people try to cook in the backyard, burgers. It was definitely one of the first things we ever tried to cook when we first started grilling out. I think they're simple, they're usually affordable, they're really flavorful, and everybody I know that loves burgers loves them even more when you cook them outside on a grill. So I'm gonna give you a few tips so that you can turn out the best backyard burgers of your life. Tip number 1 starts with the meat. Okay, Todd, what is the perfect meat to fat ratio, in your opinion, for a burger?
My opinion?
Yeah.
80-20. 80% fat. No, 80% meat. 20%. Whoa.
That's a real fatty burger.
20% fat content.
80% meat, 20% fat. And you'll often see this on the packaging of the ground beef that you buy. Now the meat to fat ratio is important. 80-20 means that your burgers are gonna hold together, but they're still gonna be really juicy. Any more fat than that, they tend to fall apart. Any leaner than that, they tend to dry out. So 80-20 is our sweet spot. 80-15 is also a good place to go.
I grew up in the low fat generation, and my mom would cook 90-10, and I hated homemade burgers.
Dry, crumbly, chewy.
Sorry, Mom.
Not great. So fat ratio is important. A little bit higher fat ratio is really important when it comes to a super juicy burger. Also, when you're picking your meat, you have the option to go whole muscle ground meat, which means that your butcher is grinding the chuck or the sirloin. Those have specific flavor profiles. Ground chuck is usually that 80-20 spot for burgers. I love a ground chuck burger. One thing that I recommend staying away from are those mystery tubes of ground beef, because even though they will have the correct fat to meat ratio, those are often ground from multiple animals that are combined. They did it, I don't even know if I want to say this out loud.
They tested it, multiple animals.
Anyway, so I prefer whole muscle. It's gonna taste fresher, it's gonna taste really clean, it's gonna look really beautiful and give you a nice red finish, and it's gonna have a fantastic texture. Tip number 2 is all about shaping your patties. Now, you can get technical and get in there with a scale. I don't think that's necessary. I think you can eyeball this for the most part, but when you are sizing your patties, just do this with your hands. You want your burger patties to be about a ½ an inch wider than the size of your bun. Your burger patty is gonna shrink on the grill, and if you've ever eaten a burger where it's bun for an inch around the outside and then patty in the middle, you know what I'm talking about. So size your patties so they're a ½ inch larger than the bun you'll be using, and then you'll have perfect bun meat bun on every bite. Also, when forming your patties, try to avoid overworking them. You notice I don't have anything in the meat other than the meat itself, and I'm just gently shaping it into the size and shape that I want it to be with my hands. I'm not pressing too hard and I'm not overworking the meat. That can make your burgers tough. There's a beautiful formed patty. I'm gonna do that 3 more times. Tip number 3, seasoning your patties. Now I season right before I put them on the grill. I don't wanna pull any moisture out of the patty itself. I do not mix any seasoning into the meat. Again, this is part of overworking it, but it can also change the texture of your burger itself. A really hearty seasoning on the outside is all you need. I'm using my beef rub because it's the absolute best burger seasoning, but even just salt and pepper really will give you all of the flavor that beautiful ground beef needs.
But if you haven't tried beef rub, you're missing out.
Beef rub burgers, I think, are one of life's real delights.
No MSG in there, guys. No MSG.
Okay, patties are formed and seasoned. That means it's time for tip number 4, grilling the burgers. We're doing this over charcoal because I think charcoal provides the best flavor profile for beef. It gives you that nice crispy, crunchy outside. But the tip comes in how we're cooking this. So we're gonna be putting these directly over the coals and then covering it and closing it with a lid. Because we have slightly thicker patties here, we want them to retain as much moisture as possible. Closing the lid will help them cook through while also giving us that nice, crispy, crunchy outside. So if you would do me the honors of lifting that lid, I'm gonna get these burger patties right on the grates.
I'm gonna skosh this over a skosh. Now we're in camera shot. Ready? It's hot in there. Careful.
Mmm.
Ooh, straight on the coals, huh?
Mm-hmm. So we're gonna put the lid down.
Ooh.
Okay, burger's on. Lid closed. Don't touch them.
Come on, I was gonna take that for you.
Oh, thank you. So part of the cooking tip, in addition to keeping the lid on, is how you handle your burgers. Use a spatula, flip them only once. When you take the lid off, flip them, put the lid back on. You don't want to press your patties down at all. You will squeeze out any of the juices in there. You don't want to flip them a bunch of times or you can risk your burgers coming apart and falling apart on the grill. They are pretty loosely held together because we hand formed them and we didn't overwork them. All of that tenderness is really important, but it means that they're a little bit fragile. So no excessive flipping or pressing. Just put them on, leave them alone. I like to give them a good 4 to 5 minutes before we flip. 4 to 5 minutes in, burgers are sizzling and already smelling amazing. It's time for
The baton handoff.
the singular flip. Okay? Don't mess with it. Yes.
Think I can do it?
I believe in you, Todd.
Ah!
Yeah.
Oh, they look so good.
They look
Sue.
so good. You get the charred outside, you get beautiful grill marks. That's everything that a burger should be in one flip. Okay, burgers are flipped, lid goes back on. Now, final tip is burger doneness. Grab yourself a great little thermometer. You can pick one of these up at thermworks.com. They're special Hey Grill Hey thermometers. Burger doneness is important, but it's also preferential. So FDA recommends fully cooked burgers, which is 160 to 165. The reason for that being that when meat is ground, there's an opportunity to introduce additional bacteria. And so the recommended doneness is always going to be 160 to 165. You will see disclosures on the bottom of any restaurant menu that serves burgers and offers them to you at medium rare or pink in the middle, that eating undercooked food is at your own risk. So if you are a gambler and not scared of eating medium burgers, I like to cook ours to about 135 to 140, which puts us in that like medium doneness range. It will be slightly pink in the middle. But again, take them up to 160 to 165. If you like them cooked all of the way through, we're a little bit of a risk taker and we'll take ours medium. Last and optional tip, while our burgers are finishing, 2 bonus tips, okay? If you want to add cheese, do it during just the last couple of minutes. Get your burgers to about 5 to 10 degrees from where you want your finish temperature to be. Slap that cheese on there, pop the lid back on, let it melt over the top. Also, please toast your buns, okay? This is one of the most standouts when it comes to a really delicious backyard burger is texture. And it's a lot of things that home cooks skip. They do it all the time in restaurants, but for some reason, when we're doing it in our backyard, we don't think of it. Don't skip the toasted bun. I actually like to toast my buns with mayo on the bun. The amount of fat that's in the mayonnaise gives you a really delectable, crispy crunch on your bun itself. But if you're not a mayo person, you can also do this with butter or you can toast them dry. Totally fine. But give yourself the pleasure and luxury of a toasted bun on your burger.
Why are burgers so good, Suze?
Look at how perfectly sized our patties are for our buns.
It's like you know what you're doing.
It's like I've done this before. Burgers are cooked, buns are toasted. I would like to point out just how proportional the burger to bun ratio is. I'm very pleased. That is a very useful tip to oversize your patties to fit your burger buns. Now it's just time to dress them up as you please. And then we get to eat some of these super tasty burgers.
I'm a no ketchup, mayo mustard kind of guy.
Okay.
You know that?
Yeah, I did know that. Todd and I are ready for a taste test. I would love to know in the comments section below, what level of burger cooker are you? Would you consider yourself expert, mid-level, or beginner? And if you have tips to share with the beginners among us, please drop them in the comments section below. I think we can all benefit from learning a little bit more from each other to help us make better barbecue at home. but I'm ready to eat this guy.
Look at this textbook.
It's perfect. Cheers. Boop. See you guys next time. Dude, nothing tastes better than a backyard charcoal burger. I'm totally convinced. I was like childhood nostalgia, Americana, deliciousness all in one bite.
Deliciousness.